in this video I'm going to show you how I work out how much yarn I need. So I'm going to be making a blanket with this block that I've designed, which you can find in my channel, the design for it. And I already know what yarn I'm using. I'm using this Rickarumi and also Paintbox DK Cotton is this very last brown round. But the very first steps that I need to do is work out exactly how much yarn is used for each round. And I'm going to do it by weight so that I can work out how many balls to buy. And also because my kitchen scales, I'm just using digital kitchen scales because they are not massively sensitive, because I'm going to be weighing each stage of the motif to work out how much yarn I've used. I'm going to have a sample size of 6 and then divide that by 6 to give me a more accurate measurement for one section. So for the purposes of the video, I've actually gone ahead and made each different stage, 6 pieces of each different stage of the motif. But in reality, if I was just doing this not for the sake of a video, I would just make these 6 bits first, then I'd do the next round, weigh that, then I'd do the next round, etc. I wouldn't have made them all separately. So I've actually used spreadsheets to help me as well. So what I tend to do is set up a spreadsheet, and again I will put a template of this on my Google Docs in case you would like to use it as a base for your own blanket. So first of all, I need to make a note of what my sample size is. So I'm using 6 motifs or 6 bits of the motif, and I'm going to go ahead and weigh round 1. The important thing is don't sew in your ends, because these are important to add into the calculation, because as you can imagine, all of these ends over, possibly more than 100 motifs for a blanket is going to really add up very quickly, and you don't want to be left short. So that is 5 grams. Let's weigh the next round. Next round is what have I got here? 3, 4, 5. Missing 1. 6. So that is 8 grams. Now we've got round 3. 6 of these, 2, 4, 6, got 22 grams, and then rounds 4 and 5 are the same colour, so I'm not going to weigh rounds 4 and 5 individually, because obviously the main purpose of this is to work out how much of each colour we're using. So if it's using 2 rounds, I'm missing 1, yeah. 47. Okay, so now the first thing I need to do is basically do some calculations. So obviously most of it will be relatively simple. So for example, I've got 5 grams which I need to divide by 6 motifs, so that means each motif, there's no difference in round for this one, because obviously it's the first round. The difference is 0.8, but I'm just going to round that up to 1. So I'm always going to be rounding up the grams. It just gives you a little bit of extra leeway. So then the next thing we need to do is work out the difference between what we had, the weight for round 2, the difference between round 2, the weight we had for round 2 and the weight we had for round 1, because then obviously that will let us know what we'd made for round 2. So that's 8 minus 5 is 3, and then we've got 3 divided by 6 is 0.5. Then we need to find out the difference between this this section, row 3, and what we had for rows 1 and 2. So that's 22 minus 8, which gives us 14. Then we divide 14 by 6, which gives us 2.5. And then again finding the difference between rounds 4 and 5, so that's 47 minus 22, which is 25. 25 divided by 6 is 4.5. So a lot of this I actually do in the spreadsheet, so I might print this out and just manually take the measurements and then transfer all of this into my spreadsheet, because this spreadsheet that I create is then linked to something else that I'm going to show you in a minute, which actually is what I use to calculate the yarn. You don't have to use a spreadsheet, so you can just write this all down in a notebook. So another important thing I need to know, and this comes in a minute, is I need to know how many grams each of my balls of yarn are. So I'm only using 2 different types of yarn. I'm using the paint box double knit and the Rikarumi, so they are quite compatible, but the paint box is ever so slightly smaller, thinner rather, and also obviously because I need to go online and buy the yarn by the ball, part of my calculation is once I know how many grams of yarn I need to work out then how many balls of each I need to buy. So yarn 1, which is the Rikarumi, is 25 grams. And then the paint box is, each ball is 50 grams. So again, this will be linked later on in my spreadsheet, and you'll need to know it so that you can work out how many balls to buy. So next important thing is we need to know how big our block is. So 10 centimeters. And then you need to decide what size blanket you're going to make. So I'm going to make a throw, which will be 125 centimeters by 150. So I've got a short side and a long side. So the next thing is to work out how many blocks I need to get 125 centimeters. So obviously I'm not going to do half blocks. I could do, but it will look weird anyway. So I'm just going to go, obviously I will be dividing this number by the size of my block, so 125 divided by 10, but I'm going to do 120. I can either have 13 blocks to give me 130 centimeters, or I can have 12 blocks to give me 120. Because I'm slightly superstitious, I'm going to go for 12 blocks. So I'll need 12 blocks for the short side, and then this is a nice easy calculation because it's 150 divided by 10, which is 15. So my motif at my throw will be 12 blocks by 15 blocks, which gives me a total of 180. So what I would do then is put all this information into my spreadsheet, which managed to get lunch all over this, unfortunately, so apologies for that. Just showing you the printout, really. That's a bit of sushi and some soy sauce. So this is what my spreadsheet would look like, and I have that as a different sheet within one document. And then I create another sheet within that document, where the first step I do is I list out all the different colour combinations. So I've got 12 different possibilities of colourways. So this is what I've joined here. These are all the different combinations that I want to use. So obviously I've got, round 1 in colour A, round 2 in colour B, round 3 in C, and then I've put all the different combinations there, because what I need to know is how many grams of yarn am I going to be using in each colour. So I already worked out that 180 divided by 12 is 15, so I need to make 15 each of all of these different combinations. And then I've done this colour coding system, which I find really helps. So I've tried to make the cell colours this very similar or close match to the actual colour of the yarn, because I found I'm a really visual person, and before I was getting really confused and forgetting which yarns I'd called, A, B, C, D or whatever. So I've also then put in there the shade colours and everything as well, just to make sure I don't accidentally order the wrong colours. Then, what I've done then is, from this information that I've gathered, because I've worked out how much yarn is used for each round, so for example round 1 I'm using roughly 1 gram, I know that to make 15 motif number 1, I'm going to need 15 grams to make 15 of these of version 1, motif version 1. So motif version 1, I'm going to need 15 grams of colour A, 7.5 grams of colour B, and 37.5 grams of colour C, and then 67.5 grams of the main colour, if I make 15 of them. So that's all been calculated in the spreadsheet. I've used the numbers in here, and multiplied them by 15, so it's all linked in the spreadsheet to make sure it's all accurate. And then I've just run that whole principle through for each of the different colour combinations. So then on this side, what I've done is just run a formula that adds up all the cells of the grams of all the cells of the same colour. So all the cells that are brown, it's actually a function, not a formula. All the cells that are brown, it added up the numbers in there to give me 810 grams. All the cells that have got grey, 120 grams, and so forth. So you can see that it's given me the total weights I need to make 180 motifs, 15 each in 12 different variations. And then I've run another calculation here, which is basically this number divided by the weight in grams that I've put on this in this bit. You might only have one if you're using one type of yarn, because that's the important bit really. I just need to know how many balls I got to buy. So I need 17 of the brown, 5 of the grey, and so forth. And because I've already got a bunch of yarn in some of the colours, before I place my order, I will just take away what I've already got and only buy what I need. Anyway, I know that's super nerdy, but this is part of the process that I actually really enjoy. Do you do anything like this? And do you think you would try something like this, or do you just rely on the designer to tell you exactly what you need? Anyway, I'll put a link to these templates on my Google Drive in case you fancy downloading and making your own blanket and having a little play around.